So I was born in the United States, but I spent a huge portion of my childhood in Pakistan, and or should I say Pakistan. But in retrospect, I'm very glad I went there because my whole paradigm shifted, right? The way I look at the world, life in itself. A person who grew up in America could never relate and never understand. Because the funny thing about gratitude and appreciation is that it actually stems from an understanding of the lack of not having something, right? It's a positive feeling that comes from a negative feeling. So many Americans are so oblivious to the blessings they have. And obviously, there's nuance to existence and life. Are there people in America that have very difficult lives? Of course, but you have to talk in generalities when occasionally, yeah? And, as an individual, you can get offended. But as a collective, no one can disagree. America is a country of people who are out of touch, right? If there was a word that could define the American people, it would be out of touch. It's funny because despite being a country that is, for all intents and purposes, the richest country in the world, one of the richest countries in the world, right? Compared to the rest of the world, has good infrastructure, good schools, hospitals. I mean, yes, there are problems in it, and yes, it's getting worse, but historically, America has been one of, if not the best place to live. However, the tragedy is that despite being in this place, despite living in this blessing, so many Americans just can't see it, can't seem to understand it. There's something weirdly beautiful about it, right? Like, lack of perspective can rob you of your own blessing because you just can't perceive it, right? I say all this to say that, as a Muslim, we believe that every person in the world should constantly be in gratitude. Muslims are supposed to be in a constant state of gratitude because even if you have the worst existence in the world, there's millions of things you should be happy for and grateful for. But there's something particularly gross when it comes to Americans. And it's that despite, on top of being oblivious, they're also arrogant. Like, this feeling of superiority is so, it makes me not want to be empathetic. Because, you talk to people, and on an individual level, you can see people are struggling. But then as a collective, you see just the arrogance that we have in approaching the world, and the lack of how we've trivialized the suffering of everyone, right? I mean, I was watching something, and some politician was talking about, the Iran and America war, and he was like, and Trump has to be responsible for the death of 6 U.S. veterans. And that number 6 I and this isn't me trying to be like facetious, but I laughed out loud because 6? Really? Over 1,000 people died in Iran. Over 1,000 people died already. And for some reason, I'm supposed to be upset about these 6 people. I mean, we're so far removed from the whole world. You know, it's come to this point where everything seems fake. Even the empathy from American people seems fake, you know, and performative. I mean, do people really understand that, you know, and then, I mean, I have just so many thoughts going in my mind because it's just offensive, right? I remember when like 2016 started to come around, everyone was talking about white privilege. And, you know, were really, really trying really hard to kill any ounce of empathy within white America. And it makes sense because I think your natural disposition is to be grateful for what you have, right? And from that gratitude, understanding the disparity comes guilt a little bit. I think any human being naturally feels that guilt. I think me, even being American Pakistani Muslim, you know, born here, I feel guilt all the time about where I am and, you know, how I've been favored over others. But, you know, there's still so much, even as a white, you know, as a Pakistani American, you know, I still go through a lot more than compared to a white person. So like their guilt is even more, right? So it made sense that they pushed such a narrative because the last thing they want is, you know, a population of America like who wants to actually genuinely stop the wars and care for the rest of the world, you know? They don't want that sort of thinking. America as a country is built on all, and if you're Christian, you'll appreciate this, all the 7 deadly sins, right? I don't think I remember all of them, but gluttony, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, envy. I think I got them. But all the major industries are built upon that, right? We are a country that takes pride in the worst possible traits a human being can have, right? Look, think about it. Think about all the food we waste. Every night, these major corporation food chains and stuff, Subway, Pizza Hut, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever, your local grocery shop, Stop and Shop, and, you know, Shaw's and Walmart, whatever, all the produce that's going to go bad, even if it's like not bad that day and could go back bad like in a day or two, they'll just throw it away. And I'm just talking about food that could have been donated, right? I'm not even talking about like the individual, you know, like just how wasteful we are. But these, like, there's so many layers to our waste. People are dying of hunger, right? You think about lust, and, you know, it's just funny, man. We've sexualized fucking cartoons. You know, you open up Disney Channel, and it's just, you know, you open up Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider, you remember all that? Unbelievable, right? Wrath. Our whole military industrial complex is built on, like, we need to kill people. We need wars in order to sell our weapons. Like, then you think about envy. Like, that's really the fashion industry is all envy, right? Because you're trying to instill weird, like, you know, make people really just despise how they look and feel about themselves, and you capitalize off that. But I mean, this is just a side tangent. In general, when I think about all these things and how, what do we really have to offer to the world besides, consumerism? We deserve everything that's coming. The pendulum is bound to swing. For so long, we just enjoyed the fruits of taking advantage of every and anything around us. People were so insulated, and many are unaware, but many are aware. I mean, to be honest, being unaware isn't an excuse anymore. In 2026, you have all the information at your fingertips to understand how the world works. But if you refuse to, then you're complicit. Bad times are coming, and we deserve it. And I say we because, I am an American. But yeah, just a tangent. Bye.